Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Village of Gurnee Planning and Zoning Board for this Wednesday, January 4th, 2023. Could we have roll call, please?
Campbell.
Present.
Morgan.
Here.
Turntop.
Here.
Path.
Here.
Paysack.
Here.
Ware.
Here.
And Sue.
Present. We do have a quorum. If everyone would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Before we start, Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
First item on the agenda, excuse me, is a design standard modification request from Casey's for a fuel station proposed to be located at the corner of Gages Lake and Hunt Club Roads. Okay.
Yeah, if
I'll try
everyone,
to talk louder. First
on
item
the
on the
board-
agenda is Casey's,
Yeah.
a Casey's request.
yep, okay.
Is this yours,
Casey's
Clara?
Retail Company is requesting approval of a design standard modification from the C2 Community Commercial Zoning District to allow the west facade to provide less than 50% transparency between 2 and 10 feet above grade on property located at the northeast corner of Gages Lake Road and Hunt Club Road. Specifically, Casey's is proposing that the west wall have 22.7% transparency, and that's 52% when including the spandrel glass windows. The Planning and Zoning Board has the final decision-making authority in this matter.
Thank you. At this time, I'll turn the floor over to Casey's. And if you could, your choice, either the handheld or the main mic. Okay, that's perfect.
Great.
You can just
All
start
right.
with your name, please.
Sure. My name is Lauren Downing. I work for Arc Design Resources. We're the civil engineering, land surveying, and landscape architecture firm working with Casey's. I've been working with Casey's for about 10 years, and we help them work through the entitlement process as well as the design for multiple sites throughout the Midwest. I have Richard McMahon here with me today. He is from Casey's. And so I appreciate all of your time in hearing us today, and we are requesting a design consideration. So here's the site, and I apologize. It is turned 90 degrees. This is Gages Lake, and this is Hunt Club. So the site is closer to Wentworth Drive, just so that we're all aware of the layout of the site. And the front of the building is right here, and that's the facade that we are requesting a modification to the code for. Sorry, next slide, please. So this is a standard building, and you can see there are 2 groups of windows, as well as the main doors are also glass and offer transparency. Sorry, next slide. Thank you. So we are requesting a design modification because the function of the building is important for Casey's overall operations. The building and floor plan layout are efficient for Casey's employees and their business model. They're providing storage. They have their unloading and deliveries, have a specific location. They have kitchen. They have an office for their managers, as well as their point of sales behind the counter. Bathrooms and beverage coolers surround the majority of the exterior of the building. And so, as was mentioned, we're requesting to provide spandrel glass in lieu of the transparency. Next slide. So on this slide, you see the floor plan. And as I had mentioned, here's the storage area. So the deliveries occur here, and that allows deliveries to be immediately put in a storage area and not go through the rest of the store, impacting customers. We have the kitchen, we have the cooler systems, as well as bathrooms, office, and then this area here is counters, and behind the counters, which have shelving for items which are only sold behind the counters. And so those places all have solid walls and do not have windows. Sorry, next slide, please. Thank you. So we are proposing to add windows throughout the front facade that would match the windows that are on the building to provide consistency in that matter. The only difference is that they would be spandrel glass, and that way we can create the appearance of the windows. However, it'll still allow Casey's building to function as it needs to. And that's it. And I'd be happy to answer any additional questions or that you have.
I think it was just a clarification that I had, and just on the plans, just so I'm sure, and I think you did it in one of the slides. The plans that we had, the front facing indicated that that was the south elevation, but that is the west elevation.
Yes, that is the west elevation. Yes.
Okay. I believe that Casey's architectural design has achieved the underlying intent of the zoning standards and accomplishes what we would hope that they would do as breaking up the facade of the building. So I think they've done a pretty good job of that.
Todd?
I'm in agreement. I think they meet the intent, what we, of them breaking up the facade and stuff, so I have no objection to it.
Dave?
Yeah, it's just an additional comment. I mean, we've seen a few other cases like this in recent past where there's been other similar type of structures, that have a kitchen component, a storage component, and frankly, just because of the size of the building and where these need to be located and required to be located, there's just really no other way around it. So I think that all that being considered, I think Casey's made their best effort to try to meet the spirit of what the code asked for and was required. So, I think, they stayed and done the best that they could given the circumstances involved, so.
Josh?
Yeah, I have no other differing opinion. I think with the spandrel glass, it meets the requirement, but it's not true transparency, but it still kind of visually meets those requirements. So no other comments.
Liliana? Okay, I concur. I think adding the spandrel glass, I think helps the aesthetics and meets the spirit of the design standards that are embedded in the overall zoning ordinance. And additionally, I kind of like the underlying architecture, that there's a mixture of how the brick is and the stone corners. I think it's an attractive facility. Okay, as this is a minor exception, a motion in the form.
I can't hear anything that's being said. None of us can hear you. I can't hear anything. No. Can you use your microphones, please?
It's right here, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what to do.
We've been having issues with the speaker system in this room. We've got a contract pending to get it replaced, but we are aware there are some issues with the speakers that are throughout the room. And we've made an attempt before the meeting to try to tweak it and get it as loud as we possibly could. However, if we go any higher, it starts providing feedback and starts squawking.
Stand up and talk louder, because speakers talk up. There's no point in us being here if we can't hear anything.
Understood. So, and I'll reiterate, this is a public meeting. The discussion that is being held by the Planning and Zoning Board tonight is for the exception to the design standards for the architecture of the building. The board, and I'll summarize the comments that have been made up to this point. Basically, the board, Casey's has presented their case for that design exception. The board is generally in concurrence with their request, so they're getting ready to vote on the request at this point. Anything I need to add further?
No, I think you covered it very well, Dave. As I was starting to say, this is a minor exception, and we have approval authority on this particular matter, so a motion in the nature of approving the request would be in order. Yes, Josh?
Your motion.
Sure.
Motion to approve a design standard modification to allow a departure from the requirement that the west elevation of Casey's proposed at the northeast corner of Gages Lake Road and Hunt Club Road provide at least 50% transparency between 2 and 10 feet above grade in substantial conformance with the attached west elevation plan.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Joanne, could we have roll call, please?
Campbell. Morgan.
Aye.
Nordhoff.
Aye.
Papp.
Aye.
Mazak.
Aye.
Ware.
Aye.
And Sula.
Aye, motion carries. So that would be the end of the requirement for any public meetings on the matter. So next step would be the continuation of your building permit processes. Okay. Next meeting on the calendar, we had a continuance scheduled for
Yeah.
January 18th. Is that still on track?
As far as we're aware, yes.
Okay, great. I'll open the floor to the public for any comment on matters not related to tonight's agenda. If you could please use the microphone, state your name and address, please.
Keith Owens. I'm president of the Wentworth Property Owners Association that abuts the property. Chairman Sula and members of the council here. Thank you very much. I know it's a thankless job, and maybe being thanked is a small thing to say. But we're here to express our concern, as you might know from the note I sent through your site. Not the fact that Casey's doesn't have great pizza and they're probably good citizens and the front of the building's going to look great, but in the letter that the mayor sent to our community, he talked about balancing the needs of the property owners with the concerns and the needs of the residents in the community. And I realize that this is probably, I know this is not the forum because you're just ruling on zoning changes and things like that, and that'll probably have to be in front of the city council. But my question is, I don't see very much of a balance between here's what it is, you guys can't say anything about it, and what we hope to be able to develop within our community. I've talked to the representatives from Casey's. They seem like very nice people. Everybody at the village is very nice people. But the outcome here is not very nice for the people who live in Wentworth. Creating a facility within 100 feet of homes that may or may not be open 24 hours, still to be determined, may or may not offer sale of liquor, off-site liquor, it creates a real problem for us. Because there's a lot of research that shows that if this is the only place open selling liquor, or if this is the only place open selling gas, it's going to be a magnet for a lot of traffic both during the day and after hours. So the combination of that and the traffic patterns and the fact that it's so close to a residential area, whereas I'm sure you are the experts on this, but I don't know of any other gas station or convenience store that is that close to a residential area. So we are here as a community, plus other people represented here, to basically say we're very disappointed in our lack of involvement in the process. From what I understand, Casey's is going to have to ask for permits for hours of operation and if they want to sell liquor, and so we'll definitely get involved in that process. But we're hoping that the village, if not, it's not your purview. You guys don't make policy. You enforce policy. And we understand that. But we're going to investigate with the village the opportunity to change the zoning, because I don't see how this use of the property is a fair balance between the rights of the property owner and the needs and the rights of the constituents. Tom Hood, when he was running for mayor, made a point of walking and going door to door and asking people in our neighborhood to consider supporting him. I'm here tonight to ask Mayor Hood, through you, for the consideration and the support of our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. just kind of want to do a follow-up for what you were saying, and just kind of give some remarks on that. So, a little backstory. So when I was in fourth
Excuse me,
grade-
sir, can you state your name
Oh, I'm sorry. Joseph Bilas,
and your address, please?
33777 North Summerfields Drive. We are right across the street from the property being debated today. So, when I was in fourth grade, I had a lot of trouble with social interactions, and my parents always told me to try and read the room and kind of pick up on the social cues, right? So, if all of us here today were to go and stand out in the middle of the plot of land zoned commercial on the corner of Hunt Club and Gages Lake, and we looked out, we would see houses on 3 sides, and we would see a church on the other, and not a single business in sight, because this area is completely residential. So I think we need to be taking these social cues and understanding that I just don't think this type of business makes sense. Not when we have 8 gas stations within 3 miles of that corner. Not when we may not even be needing gas stations 10 to 15 years down the line. And I think we need to be building for the future as well as the here and now. Again, I don't think I really want a gas station across the street from where I live when we already have cars blasting down Hunt Club at 1 a.m. in the summertime. So, again, living right across the street from the property, I know my parents don't really want a concrete block with blaring lights pumping pollutants into the air. That's not why my parents built their house here about 20 years ago. So there is also, taken from a 2004 study that documents an increase in rates of leukemia associated with living close to gas stations. We also have a 2012 study that found air quality to be significantly decreased within 500 feet of a gas station, and this one will be right next to an assisted living center, as well as right next to housing that was built specifically for people 50 and older, who may have health conditions that they simply need the best air quality that we can give them. This is not the city, this is Gurnee, this is the suburbs. So, again, there is also no substantial research on measures which could reduce these pollutants. And until there is, I'm not willing to gamble with the lives of the elderly so we can have 9 gas stations within 3 miles of the corner. So, Gurnee is a sprawling suburb where people feel safe to start and raise a family. And we need to note the fact that Casey's does on their website list the fact that they sell tobacco products, cigarettes, e-cigarettes, vape pens, right in the middle of a residential area with kids and a school down the street. Despite it being illegal to sell these products to minors, it is a fact that children are more likely to participate in these illicit activities when they go to school and live near businesses that sell these type of products. So while that may be a conversation for a different time, that nonetheless still underscores the importance that this is not what we use this zoning for. So, because this, at the end of the day, undermines the safety and security that defines our village of Gurnee. So regardless of the petition here tonight, I want everybody to know, everybody in this body and everybody attending here, that the residents of North Summerfields Drive stands firmly opposed to this project. Thank you for your time.
Okay, I'm going to now close the floor to the public. My only comment is that the planning and zoning process is a very transparent process. Public hearings are held anytime there's a change to zoning. That corner has been zoned commercial for many, many years. In fact, its current configuration was the direct request of the developer. So I'm not sure how much more transparent we can be. Dave, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I did a little bit of research today. It was originally zoned commercial in 1990 when Bobby's driving range originally came into the community. It was annexed in and zoned at that time. At that time, the site, it's just shy of a 30-acre site, which includes Wentworth. It was 17 acres of commercial and 11 and a half acres of residential. So it was more than half commercial when it was originally zoned. The village entertained a couple of developments over the years. We've got probably 4 or 5 of them. ranging from 100% residential, which was denied in 2005. A Walgreens project came forward in 2002 that wanted to cut off just a small portion, and because they wanted to cut off a small portion, they decided not to go forward. They received negative feedback from the board. We had a 2007 development that had 43 residential lots and 4 acres of commercial. The developer withdrew the application before he got to the village board because of the downturn of the housing market. 2009, we had a development come in that was 24 acres of commercial, about 300,000 square feet of commercial on that corner, which would have been more of a regional draw for traffic. That application was withdrawn before it got to the village board. And then finally in 2015, Tim Kellogg and Wentworth was developed. 73 home sites. It was a balanced community with residential and commercial. Because the Village of Gurnee does not levy a property tax, we try to balance developments with residential developments with a commercial component so that it helps offset the cost of serving the residents. That corner has been commercially zoned for 32 years. Nothing has really changed with that zoning in those 32 years. So this project could have happened 32 years ago, or it could have happened, as it's happening now. So nothing has really changed in essence on that corner as far as the zoning is concerned, and that's why there have not been public hearings and rezoning hearings as you have seen in many of the other instances throughout the community. So that's kind of a quick and dirty summary of that site.
Thank you very much, Dave. This time, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion by
Second.
Trask, second by Edwin. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.